The National Weather Service in Nashville has issued a flash flood warning for southern Davidson County in Middle Tennessee, Williamson County in Middle Tennessee. This includes the city of Franklin until 5:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 3:24 p.m. Central Daylight Time, National Weather Service Doppler radar indicated flash flooding from a thunderstorm over the warned area. Locations in the warning include but are not limited to Fairview, Nolensville, Forest Hills, Brentwood, and Cool Springs. Do not drive your vehicle into areas where the water covers the roadway. The water depth may be too great to allow your car to cross safely. Move to higher ground. A flash flood warning means that flooding is imminent or occurring. If you are in the warning area, move to higher ground immediately. Residents living along streams and creeks should take immediate precautions to protect life and property. Do not attempt to cross swiftly flowing waters or waters of unknown depth by foot or by automobile.
Whether caused by excessive rainfall, landslide, ice jam, hurricane, tsunami, or failure of a dam or levee, floods are the #1 cause of weather-related deaths. AMEC supplies engineering, consulting, and project management services to clients in the environment and infrastructure markets around the world, providing local service with a global reach. What you may not know is that in the past few years, AMEC has developed into a leading provider of comprehensive flood forecasting and flood warning solutions. In fact, AMEC can offer technical expertise and insight on all aspects of the flood cycle. Following the catastrophic flooding of May 2010, the City of Nashville and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers spearheaded a multi-agency partnership called the Nashville Situational Awareness for Flooding Events Program, or SAFE for short.
Activating its Emergency Operations Center well in advance just in case.
Under contract with both Metro Water Services and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, AMEC has been responsible for the development of a myriad of innovative products and processes that fill the gaps between existing services of federal and local agencies and help carry out the mission of Nashville Safe. As a part of this program, AMEC conceived and created the Watershed Advisory Guide, an all-inclusive flood decision support manual for emergency managers that combines complex flood modeling and inundation mapping with GIS data to catalog flooding impacts into manageable action levels. In addition, AMEC has developed procedural documents for local emergency managers, produced a training video on flood response shown as required curriculum throughout the Nashville Police Department, performed hydraulic modeling for over 100 miles of stream, integrated data from local gauges and webcams into the Nashville Safe online map viewer, assisted with the implementation of a real-time flood forecasting system, and provided staff augmentation by serving as on-call watershed advisors during the more than 14 activations of the Metro Emergency Operations Center for flooding since 2011. In October 2011, Polk County, Florida experienced a severe storm, dropping 13 1/2 inches of rainfall in less than 2 days, the equivalent of a 100-year storm. Several roadways in the area were overtopped by floodwaters, including River Ranch Boulevard, a major roadway serving as the only entrance or exit for River Ranch, a community of roughly 150 people located near Winter Haven, Florida. Polk County called upon AMEC's Lakeland, Florida office to help them develop innovative and cost-effective solutions to limit future road closures and improve emergency management response. AMEC's engineers took a 3-tiered approach. Drainage improvements will be made where Peckingham Slough crosses River Ranch Boulevard, including a duck-billed check valve on the eastern side that will prevent backflow across the roadway. In addition, a tipping bucket rain gauge and solar-powered water level sensors will be added along the roadway. These instruments will be tied to solar-powered flashing warning signals, warning drivers of the dangers of driving down River Ranch Boulevard. The rain gauge and water level sensors will also be tied to a radio communications network with automated notification of emergency management personnel and citizens at specific stages of rising floodwaters. Doñana County, New Mexico is situated in an area marked by rugged mountain ranges separated by wide desert basins. Despite having an annual rainfall average of less than 10 inches, Doñana County often sees locally intense rainfall amounts caused by convective thunderstorms during their late summer monsoon season, causing flash floods and impacting the communities of Hatch, Rincon, Radium Springs, Doñana, Las Cruces, Mesquite, Vado, and Anthony. In early 2013, the Doñana County Flood Commission hired a team comprised of Wilson & Company, West Consultants, One Rain, and AMEC to develop a 5-year master plan for the implementation of an Alert 2 flood warning system. As part of this project, AMEC was tasked with identifying the locations of 30 remote monitoring stations that will provide optimum flood threat recognition lead times to identify critical communities, infrastructure, and facilities that are susceptible to flooding. AMEC's efforts focused on the Mezilla Valley, the heavily populated corridor following the Rio Grande. Using engineering judgment and geospatial analysis techniques, AMEC determined those target areas where flood losses, considering both human and financial losses, would be the greatest. These target areas were called risk centers. AMEC then identified the optimum location for a remote monitoring station that would provide adequate flood warning for each risk center, and performed a detailed site reconnaissance to verify the accessibility and suitability of each site for the proposed monitoring station. During site reconnaissance, AMEC staff noted GPS coordinates of the proposed site, as well as property ownership, access, security, power, and line-of-sight concerns. With a master plan for 30 remote monitoring stations in place, the Doñana County Flood Commission was able to develop an Alert 2 network backbone during year 1 of the plan, such that years 2 through 5 can be focused on the expansion of the system. In 2012, southwest England was hit by heavy rainfall, which resulted in extensive flooding across the region, much of it groundwater derived. Having been involved in predicting and mitigating groundwater flooding related to the chalk aquifers of southern England for the past 10 years, AMEC was appointed by the UK Environment Agency to use their regional groundwater model to refine understanding of areas vulnerable to groundwater flooding across Wessex and to develop forecasting techniques with the aim of designing a tool capable of providing a 5-day flood warning to these areas. AMEC tested 2 possible models: the CatchMod model, which is a model originally developed by the Environment Agency's Thames Region Resource Team to forecast low flows, and a spreadsheet tool developed by AMEC specifically to forecast high groundwater levels in the Wessex region. As a result of their analysis, AMEC concluded that both models do a reasonable job at predicting the groundwater peaks on a 5-day forecast. However, it was clear that a one-model-fits-all approach could not be taken, as each had their shortcomings. The CatchMod model, when customized by AMEC to forecast high flows, performed good long-term volumetric predictions, but varied in results for the desired 5-day forecast. The AMEC spreadsheet tool was found to fit much better for the desired 5-day forecast, but could not be extended further than 5 days, given that it does not include potential evaporation or soil moisture deficit simulations. Going forward, the Environment Agency intends to use the modeling output produced from this project to inform their national flood forecasting system, and therefore will be used as part of the Southwest Flood Warning and Alert System. On Saturday, May 1, 2010, heavy rain began falling in the Cumberland River Valley and continued through the following day. 13½ inches were measured at Nashville, an unprecedented amount that doubled the previous 2-day record. Elsewhere in the valley, amounts of over 19 inches were measured. This intensity of rainfall quickly overwhelmed tributaries to the Cumberland River in the Nashville area, causing widespread and serious flooding. Tractor trailers and houses were seen floating down Mill Creek, a primary tributary in the southeastern area of Nashville. In total, 26 people died and over $2 billion in damage occurred as a result of the flood. Following the flood, agencies in the Nashville area sought better capabilities for forecasting stages and inundation areas for local tributaries. An interagency group consisting of Nashville Metro Water, AMEC, the National Weather Service, the USGS, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was established to seek better ways to forecast short-term events in the region. The HEC-RTS modeling system was implemented for 9 tributary watersheds in the Nashville area for flow and stage forecasting and real-time inundation mapping. This video covers the implementation for the Mill Creek watershed. HEC-RTS stands for Real-Time Simulation. It is the public version of the Corps' water management system. The primary purpose of HEC-RTS is to integrate multiple models developed by the Corps of Engineers, such as HEC-HMS and HEC-RAS, into one system that can be used for real-time decision support. It uses discrete models that are developed outside of the system and then linked together into RTS. Precipitation is processed by HEC-RTS on a grid basis. Observed rainfall data can be pulled in from the National Weather Service's NextRad system or interpolated from your local network of rainfall gauges. Future precipitation scenarios are typically pulled from the Weather Service's QPF, otherwise known as Quantitative Precipitation Forecast, or developed by the user. HEC-RTS uses HEC-HMS to compute runoff from observed data and future precipitation scenarios. It should be noted that this is not a continuous simulation. This is an event-oriented model. The Maud-Clark model is used for rainfall runoff transformation from distributed data. Excess rainfall is lagged by grid cell translation times, routed through linear reservoirs, then combined at subbasin outlets. Soil moisture conditions are calibrated prior to modeling runs. HEC-RTS uses HEC-RAS to calculate water surface elevations along each studied reach. HEC-RAS will also compute the depth and velocity along that studied reach. Calibration of hydraulic results to known water surface elevations is performed by adjusting Manning's roughness coefficient, also known as the N value, within each HEC-RAS model. Inundation boundaries and depth grids are produced by using the RAS Mapper software. The HEC-RTS system has 4 main modules: data acquisition, data visualization, model interface, and watershed setup. To open the program, double-click on the HEC-RTS icon. From the File menu, choose Open Watershed. This will display the Mill Creek subbasins and time series icons and other layers if turned on. From the module selector, select Data Acquisition. To begin their HEC-RTS run, a user acquires data from the USGS by selecting the Get USGS Data button. This runs a script that runs the HEC DSSView USGS importer. Data imported includes flow, stage, and precipitation. Shown here is the example of the script used to retrieve data from the USGS InWiz website. Scripts can be customized depending on the number of gauges. A second script grids the rainfall data for input into HMS. Quality color bars on the screen show the amount of data retrieved. The next step is to move to the Data Visualization module to view current watershed conditions. Selecting a thumbnail displays a full plot of the data retrieved. All data retrieved can be exported and analyzed in Microsoft Excel. Some icons have additional features. From the Blackman icon, you can display a map showing the location of the gauge. Or you can view real-time images from a webcam nearby. 2 special time series icons are located in the upper left of the main map screen. The Observe Flow icon shows a plot of flow from all the gauges in the basin. In addition to displaying incremental precipitation for all gauges, The Observe Precip icon will show a plot of cumulative precipitation by right-clicking on the icon and selecting Run Plot Cumulative Precip. The next step is to produce a forecast using the Model Interface module. The Model Interface module is where you run simulation models to forecast flows and stages, view inundation maps, and run what-if scenarios. For demonstration purposes, I have already set up a forecast starting on August 29th and forecasting out to September 2nd. Because I'm demonstrating with a draft version of the Mill Creek model, the only alternative available is the no future rainfall alternative. I will manually adjust the future rainfall to create my forecast. With the no future rain alternative selected from the forecast menu, select Compute, HMS. You can also right-click on the alternative name to compute. This will run both MFP with no future rain and HMS. Review the observed data versus computed results from HMS by selecting on the menu Reports, HMS, Results, and No Future Rainfall Base. This will bring up the results dialog. For this time frame, there was no significant precipitation and little to calibrate to. The HMS model has been calibrated for more significant flood events. As such, runs during lower flow periods should not be expected to be close without major parameter adjustments. To adjust HMS parameters or calibrate it to current conditions, select from the Edit menu, Models, then HMS. This brings up the HMS dialog. From this dialog, we will set any HMS parameters that are typically modified during real-time simulation. Usually, the most common parameter that we would adjust would be the loss rates. If we were expecting significant rainfall, we would adjust them to the best of our ability according to our experience with this basin. By selecting the time series icon mouse tool on the left panel, you can double-click on a thumbnail to produce a plot. Generally, one will look at the HMS results for the no future rain alternative as a base. Future rain is entered in the MFP precipitation dialog. Generally, one would first forecast with the quantitative precipitation forecast. For this demonstration, I wanted to run an alternative based on a recent flood that occurred in a local watershed. On August 8th, we had over 7 inches of rain isolated over the Gibson Creek watershed. I want to see what would happen if that 7 inches of rain fell in the same intense pattern over the Mill Creek watershed. We can copy data from this spreadsheet and paste it directly into the MFP editor. The graphical editor shows cumulative rain versus time. Compute your future flows by running HMS again. Review the results from either the HMS Reports dialog, plots from the thumbnail icons, or from selecting Flows/Stages from the Results menu. For demonstration purposes, we will compare the peak elevation at Antioch from this hypothetical flood with our Nashville Safe action levels and historical peaks. Peak elevations at all rating curves can be viewed by clicking Results and Stage Elevation. The peak elevation at Antioch for this demonstration is 500.3 feet. This peak corresponds to a Nashville Safe action level between I and J, well within major flood stage and well above the highest historical peak. By forecasting action level J, we are able to then determine when and where response actions will be needed in the future. Another way to assess flooding impacts is to view a layer of inundation depth or inundation boundaries in HEC RTS. A steady-state RAS model is used to compute stages and inundation depths for Mill Creek. Now run RAS by right-clicking on the No Future Rainfall alternative, Compute, and RAS. You can plot the water surface profile for a stream by selecting the stream, right-clicking on it, and then selecting Plot Water Surface Profile. RAS Mapper uses data computed by RAS and a detailed digital elevation model to compute an inundation boundary map and inundation depth grids. After running RAS from RTS, with the forecast alternative set as active, open the RAS user interface by selecting the RAS icon at the top of RTS. From the RAS menu, select GIS Tools and RAS Mapper. This displays the main RAS Mapper screen, showing a depiction of the Mill Creek RAS model in the right-hand panel. From the Tools menu, select Floodplain Mapping. This displays the Floodplain Mapping dialog, where the terrain DEM is selected and the inundation layers are computed. You can create inundation mapping and depth grids for any time interval computed in RAS. For the purpose of this demonstration, I will create an inundation boundary and depth grids for only the peak flows. Press the Generate Layers button at the bottom. RAS Mapper will start the process of computing the depth and boundary layers. This computation will take several minutes. The end results may be displayed by RTS by selecting Show RAS Inundation Depths or Show RAS Inundation Boundary from the Results menu. You can zoom and pan to specific areas of interest. Typically, a background image is displayed with the results. Press the Show Aerial Background button in the lower right of the screen to load this image. As you can see, this hypothetical flooding scenario, flooding is more than 10 feet deep in a medium density residential area. Adding HEC RTS to the array of tools available to the Nashville SAFE program has enhanced AMEC's ability to collect, analyze, and model real-time and forecasted data, further improving our flood warning capabilities and helping keep the citizens of Nashville safe from flooding. This demonstration provides a broad overview of typical river and flood forecasting procedures at National Weather Service River Forecast Centers. The River Forecast Centers use the Community Hydrologic Prediction System, or CHIPS, as their hydrologic modeling platform. CHIPS is the NWS flavor of the Delft-Fuse forecasting system, which was developed by the Dutch National Water Institute Deltares. Partnering with Deltares, AMEC was selected in early 2013 to guide and assist the Tennessee Valley Authority through their 3-year modernization and migration to Delft-Fuse. AMEC is also subcontracting with Deltares for ongoing support and maintenance of CHIPS at the River Forecast Centers. Here is a demonstration using a flood event from September 2012 in Alaska, as forecasted at the Alaska Pacific River Forecast Center. Here is a broad overview of a typical hydrograph from the hydrologic model. This is a map of the state of Alaska. For the purpose of this demonstration, we will focus on the south central portion, which was impacted by what's called a Pineapple Express event. A typical Pineapple Express flow pattern happens when there is a broad, strong ridge of high pressure along the west coast of the United States and Canada, which will drive subtropical moisture north from Hawaii into south central Alaska. These atmospheric rivers, as they're commonly known, often cause flooding from British Columbia down to California as well. A similar Pineapple Express event caused widespread flooding and lots of damage near Valdez, Alaska in October 2006. Weather forecasters at the River Forecast Centers will rely on weather models. They interpret these models from various sources, bringing them in to the graphic forecast editor, where they can manipulate the data into gridded forecasts that are then imported directly into CHIPS and fed into the hydrologic model. In CHIPS, we can look at the hydrograph view showing recent observed data compared with the simulation of recent and forecasted flows. This particular basin has 2 zones and also receives routed flow from an upstream basin. You can move to the next basin or forecast group using the panel to the left. You can also switch between custom configurable displays using the thumbnail plots on the right. This display focuses on temperature changes and precipitation amounts on a 6-hour time step. Note that this basin has a lower, upper, and glacial zone. There are two types of precipitation. Rainfall shows up dark blue and snow shows up as light blue. In this case, the model is under-simulating the actual river flow, which is likely caused by the modeled rain-snow elevation being significantly lower than the observed freezing line. In CHIPS, real-time modifiers are used to calibrate the models. Shortcuts are used to switch between modifiers. In this example, we'll adjust the mean aerial temperature from the beginning of the forecast run to September 22nd, adding 5 degrees for all temperature zones. We rerun the model, and a new forecasted flow is shown. You'll also see that more of the precipitation is classified as rain rather than snow because of the increase in temperature. That was just a short example of the many tools that can be used to help make the forecast as accurate as possible. Once a modification is made to an upstream basin, the downstream basins must be rerun, which is indicated by a yellow circle. You can also run what are called ensemble forecasts, where the forecaster inputs several different precipitation forecasts to produce varying flows. Different temperature variations can also be input into ensembles. Historical flow exceedance probabilities can be calculated at each location to compare to the forecasted flows. As you can see, our forecasted flow is higher than the highest exceedance probability for this period. Switching to Data View in CHIPS, you can see all the data available for gauges in the area, with icons displaying the current flood status of that gauge. Gauges and forecast points can also be shown in a map view. The user can zoom to predefined display extents or zoom directly to forecast points. You'll notice in this example that several of the forecast points are exceeding moderate or major flood stage. In the typical forecasting process, the user sets up regular data collection times in this window. Data can also be manually imported from USGS or National Weather Service and processed into grids that are processed for use in the lumped hydrologic models. All these grids can be viewed in the spatial display. This display shows precipitation that has fallen this week. Here's the forecast precipitation. The user can accumulate data over any time range and view forecasts that were previously issued for the forecast group, which helps the forecaster understand the uncertainty inherent in precipitation forecasting. Temperature and freezing levels can be viewed and manipulated the same way. Once the forecast is complete, there are a series of scripts that convert the data to a chef code format, which is fed to the hydrographs on the AHAPS webpage. AHAPS pages are the method used to disseminate this information to the public. Here you can see the AHAPS page for the period of this demonstration. Here are some pictures of flooding that occurred as a result of this September 2012 event in South Central Alaska. This platform is used to improve forecasting capabilities and dissemination of routine flow and flood forecasts to the public.